It's the Beat Break Morning Show with Sean Garvey and the crew. You're listening to the Beat Break Podcast.
Remember, anything can happen today.
On the Thinking Out Loud Network. Check out the Thinking Out Loud Network at thinkingoutloudnetwork.com.
It's the Beat Break Morning Show, the Beat Break Podcast. Sean Garvey, DJ Rollum, and the Wake Up Ladies. You can listen to us live on beatbreakradiofm.com, simulcasting on the Thinking Out Loud Network.com. And this show, as well as this podcast, is brought to you by WadeWorksStudios. So wake up in your dreams with WadeWorksStudios. If you are looking for a new home to host and produce your next podcast, don't look any further. Come to WadeWorksStudios. For more information, you can go to the website, WadeWorksStudios.com. That's WadeWorksStudios.com. Sean Garvey, DJ Rollum, and the Wake Up Ladies. You can follow us on all your social media platforms at Beat Break Radio. I'm here today, once again, solo. I'm just going to spend the next few minutes talking to all of my loyal listeners that have been listening and rocking out with us for such a quite amount of time on the Beat Break Morning Show, the Beat Break Podcast. We only got a few weeks until the new year, 2021. Is pretty much just around the corner, and I know everybody is getting ready to get into somewhat of the holiday spirit as Thanksgiving and Christmas rolls around. And, of course, this season is not going to be like any other season we've had in years due to the fact that we are still in a pandemic. I hope you all have a safe and wonderful Thanksgiving as well as a safe Black Friday, whether you are doing online shopping or if you are going into certain stores where you still have to go in wearing a mask and take the necessary CDC precautions to avoid getting COVID out here. But I'm not only here to talk about that. Of course, even in the midst of the pandemic, there are plenty of people that are still in the mindset of thinking that things are not going to get better and things are not going back to becoming the way they were before the pandemic. And looking back at this year, 2020, which is so crazy that it feels like January 1st, 2020 was here yesterday and it's about to come to an end. A lot of people from different ethnic backgrounds, different communities, whether you are 18 years of age or you're 65, everyone is dealing with some form of depression, some form of anxiety, or some form of mental illness. And a few months into the new year, into 2020, I myself never thought that I would be one of the millions of people or one of the many that would experience depression, anxiety, or some form of mental health. And even though we've had the opportunity and the pleasure, as well as the honor of having few people come on our show to talk about mental health, it can still affect the people that are a part of this platform, including myself. For those that are not aware, I have experienced a form of mental health over the past few months, dealing with a personal relationship I had with someone that has been a huge supporter in everything that I do and everything that has transpired in my life or in my career in radio, outside of my career in radio. And this personal relationship that I've had with this individual for about 2 years, going on 3 years, has had its bumps in the road and its challenges. It's no different if you have a family member or a close friend, and things could be good in the beginning, things could be great. Then you come across some challenges, some bumps in the road that can put a strain on your relationship with that person. And it could affect the person that you love mentally, spiritually, emotionally. That's the last thing you don't want to do, or you don't want to happen in the relationship that you have with that individual. So myself, I've experienced a form of depression and anxiety on and off for the past few months. Some of the podcasts that I've delivered to you listeners in recent weeks or in recent months, I've talked about it a little bit. I really haven't talked too much about it, but I've talked a little bit about it, and I'm not afraid to, nor I'm not ashamed to publicly and candidly discuss about it to my listeners. As a podcaster and a broadcaster and a person who's been in media and radio and all aspects of media, I tend to not shy away from certain subjects and topics discussed on the air that I can personally relate to. I think that the power of medium and the power of radio and podcasting, the power comes from the daily lives that we live as individuals to really help make a difference in somebody's life through our adversity and challenges that we face. And most of those challenges come from just relationships with people, whether they are romantic or family related or friendship related. We tend to tell those stories to show that we are vulnerable people. We are human. We human beings. Like, as a kid, listening to my favorite radio personality or watching my favorite actor or actress on TV playing a role or playing a character, I always looked at them as a superhero with superpowers. They're perfect. They don't have no scandal. Their life is great. Their relationship is great. They are what I wanted to be. But when you peel those layers off and you see them for who they really are, nowadays we have social media, and social media is quick to put out this story about this person and put out this story about that person. And you pull those layers back in, they vocally and verbally tell you what all they've been through in their life behind closed doors when the cameras are off and when the lights are off. It makes you look at them from a different lens, from a different perspective. Are they still a superhero to you? Absolutely. But they have a kryptonite, like many of us do. We have a kryptonite. We have some form of weakness. And you might be over there while you're listening to this podcast, you might be over there thinking to yourself, like, okay, what is my weakness? What are my strengths? I know what my strengths are. If you don't know what your strengths are already. Okay, but what are my weaknesses? What are my flaws? And how can I tackle them? I had to ask myself the same question. I'm 36, going on 37. This COVID-19 has really been a game changer to me because it opened up a lot of epiphanies for me. as an individual, as a person, as a radio professional, as a podcaster, as a broadcaster. It opened up a lot of epiphanies for me. And it made me think of what my flaws are, and looking back and just thinking about, okay, what are some of the things that I have done wrong in my past? And, what can I do to fix it moving forward? I don't think it can be fixed, because when it happens, it's done. The damage is already done, right? But your objective moving forward is to not repeat those same mistakes again in order to be a better person. I know sometimes we wish we have a time machine and we could just find and get inside of a time machine and just go back and change things, but that can't happen. As much as we want to have a time machine, is impossible. Let me know if somebody has a time machine. You can DM me at Sean Garvey ATL on Twitter and Instagram. If you know somebody that has a time machine, let me know. But I say all that to say, the things that we do sometimes, and the choices that we make, and the relationships we get involved in, and the people we associate, it can play a pivotal role in your health. You got to also ask yourself too, like, what kind of people am I associating with? What kind of people do I need to be around? What kind of foods am I eating? What should I stay away from? What makes me laugh? What makes me cry? You got to ask yourself all these type of questions, because they can affect your health, especially mentally. I didn't come on the podcast to preach or to lecture. I'm literally sitting on the couch with you, listening to my own podcast, and I have to figure some things out in the next few weeks ahead into the new year. You know what they say, new year, new you? You get better every year. You change every year. You change every 10 years. Your mindset changes every year. You go through this transformation phase in your life, and you look back and you be like, man, what the hell did I just do? What was I thinking? I should, And you start to become more wiser and more knowledgeable. And just moving forward, you're just like, you know what? I don't regret some of the things that has happened, because I learned from them. If those things didn't happen, how would I learn? How will I be able to pay it forward, to pass the wisdom to other people, to say, hey, don't make the same mistake that I made. Here's what you should do, or here's what I recommend you should do. You can do what you want, because you're old enough to make your own decisions. But why not try and do it this way? We all go through growing pains in our life. It's part of life. It is. And a lot of times it hurts. That's why it's called growing pains. Because it hurts. Growing up hurts. It is not, what I'm saying is not to alarm anybody. It is just to make people aware, because that's what we do here on the Beat Break Morning Show, the Beat Break Podcast. A lot of times we make people aware about things going on in our communities, things that are going on in our lives, which we have been very transpired, have been transparent. That's the word I mean, transparent a lot of times. I wanted to come on this podcast to make people aware that you're not alone. I'm speaking directly to the person or to the people that are dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with, which is depression, which is anxiety, which is some form of mental health. I encourage people to seek treatment. I encourage people to seek therapy. I encourage people to seek immediate help. I'm currently in treatment, and I'm currently still getting the help that I need for my mental health. I appreciate all the prayers and the thoughts and the sentiment from everyone, from colleagues in my profession, in radio, in TV, and just everyday people, working 9 to 5 or entrepreneurs. The people that I love the most, from family to colleagues to friends, to people that I met along the way, to even people that follow me on social media, my social media family. Thank you for the warm support and the love you've given me. Even before I went on social media or a person on my behalf who works alongside with me, went on social media and informed people that I am going through something in my personal life, which has affected me physically and mentally. My team had to inform people that. And it is not to alarm people. It's just to make people aware of my condition and what I'm going through. Because I love you all and I care about you all. I don't want to leave the mic and not come back for a few weeks and you all are saying to yourself, well, what happened to Sean Garvey? What's going on with Sean Garvey? Is he okay? I'm fine. I'm good, but I need to be better. And in order for me to be better, I need to take some time off. So for the next few weeks into the new year, I am going to take a short hiatus from doing the morning show, doing the podcast, to work on myself. And working on myself is a progress. It's not going to be a quick fix. It's a progress. But don't worry, folks. My good family members, DJ Rollum and Dynasty, are going to hold it down for me for the next few weeks until the new year. There's still a lot of stuff to cover in these last few weeks, whether it's from the outcome of the presidential election, COVID-19, social injustice happening here in America continuously, protesting, things happening in entertainment, or just whatever is on people's minds. They are going to still be here to cover all of that in my absence. Or my brief absence. Let me not just say just absence, but in my brief absence. And I will be back. I will be back. Better than ever. And I will also be back with a brand new podcast outside of the Beat Break Morning Show. And you heard me mention, and we teased it a little bit on social media, Love and Poetry with Sharia Thomas, which is coming soon, coming next year. And I'm still going to do the BV Mobile Apps podcast until the end of the year. But while I'm dealing with this form of mental health, I don't want to do so much to where it can make my condition more worse than what it is. And when I come back from hibernation, I'm going to tell you all, I am going to have a lot of stories to tell. So be ready. Be ready, folks. But once again, I say this in closing. I am not gonna die. I am not facing any type of life-threatening disease or life-threatening situation. I'm just taking a break to focus on my mental health. And I say this with the deepest sincerity. I appreciate each and every one of you for just taking the time and the opportunity to listen to this podcast, to listen to the shows, to keep on rocking out with us for over these years. And just being able to allow us to be our true selves through these microphones and this audio equipment that we use to make sure that our content is produced and gets to you and to the masses. And I appreciate everyone for just allowing me to be me. And for the love and the support you all have given me through this bittersweet and difficult time. I'm not going to be long-winded, ladies and gentlemen. Just wanted to touch bases with you guys and let you know I'm okay. But I need to get better. We do have one piece of content that we haven't released yet. We actually did a pre-recording of this show during the summer. Actually, it was late summer. It was around August. And we're going to air that before the year ends. We just got to do a little bit of editing to this show before we release it. But it was very, very powerful. And it will help. Not saying that it might, but it will help those that are still dealing with COVID-19. But we're going to air it soon before the end of the year. Just be on the lookout for that. But also be on the lookout for some new great things getting ready to happen with our platform, Beat Break 87 FM. And also Thinking Out Loud Network. And I will also say this in closing as well, too. Thank you to G Wade and WadeWorksStudios and Thinking Out Loud Network for carrying our show. I think it's going on, about our first year? I want to say our first year. I think this is our first year. I could be wrong. Maybe our first and half year being on Thinking Out Loud Network. We've been on other platforms before in the past. Shout outs to WBHH back in the day, and shout outs to WAEN FM. But big shout outs to Thinking Out Loud Network for carrying our show for this amount of time and for getting us that extra exposure that we needed to get our content across. Shout outs to them, and definitely big shout outs to WadeWorksStudios. They do an amazing job in helping us get our content out there. So many thank yous, so many thank yous, so many thank yous. Especially thank you to my Beat Break Radio crew, from DJ Roland to Dynasty Smith, Diamond Love, Sharia Thomas, Mr. Moody, sometimes, aka Mr. Moody, Jeffrey Robinson, that's his real name. Putting it out there. Yeah, I did. And everyone, even our alumni, people who have helped Beat Break Radio get to where it needed to be. And I cannot forget, kind of tearing up a little bit as I'm talking to you guys, so bear with me. That's why you may hear a little bit of dead air in between my talking points. Signature phrase. And you're going to still hear her name in every other podcast that we do. Her spirit still carries us, and we still carry her spirit. She is still among one of the most greatest people to ever be a part of this platform, of this podcast, this morning show. We cannot forget people like her who have came and have become a very huge asset to everything that we do, and have left us in the spirit form, or in the physical, not so much spirit, but in the physical form, but still helped us give our listeners great content. Mental health is real, y'all. It is definitely real. If you haven't seek treatment, please seek treatment as soon as possible, ASAP. This has been a very, very crazy year for me. I lost Signature. I don't want to say we lost Signature. I lost my grandmother. I lost some friends. I may lose another. And it just didn't turn out the way I wanted it to be in this new year, in 2020. So I have to take a moment to reflect on those things, evaluate, and just take a moment to step back and try to go back into enjoying life. Enjoying doing this podcast is one thing, but enjoying life is another. And I enjoy being here with you guys. And I enjoy talking to you, and enjoy listening to you and watching you on social media, watching us. And I enjoy everything that I do because this is my love. This is my passion. But I also have love for myself and my health. So on the next podcast, the only voices you will hear is DJ Rollum and or Dynasty, or both, with a special guest co-host or a special guest for the next few weeks until I come back. Your boy ain't going nowhere. He's just taking a short vacation because I haven't took a vacation in a long time. But I am going to take one. It's more of a mental vacation. And maybe that mental vacation will take me to the beach, sipping pina coladas. But anywho, I'm signing out, y'all. I'll talk to you again in January 2021. Get ready for Aquarius season, y'all. Get ready for a lot new changes and a lot of big things. You all take care. You know where to follow me. You know where to find me. Sean Garvey ATL on Twitter, Instagram. Sean Garvey on Facebook. And always at Beat Break Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram, as well as on YouTube. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right. Leaving it to DJ Rollum and Dynasty to hold me down until I come back. And this is the Beat Break Morning Show, the Beat Break Podcast, with yours truly, the architect. Sean Garvey. I will see you and talk to you in the next year. Peace.
You're listening to the Beat Break Podcast.
Remember, anything can happen today.
On the Thinking Out Loud Network. Check out the Thinking Out Loud Network at thinkingoutloudnetwork.com.